What's up, guys, and welcome back to Banter at the Bank. It's been a while, but we are here. Don't worry, Red October is here, and so are we. It is your host here, Drew, with Brandon. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing great, Drew. I'm
Yeah,
doing great.
it's good to be
Good to be
back, isn't it?
back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is. It is.
yeah. We missed. I want to say we missed a lot, but I think
I'm
when
just,
we were doing stuff is kind of the high point of the season. So
well, when they were winning so much, it's like, what is there to talk about? They're just
I
winning. They're in
know,
win the NL East. They're gonna make the playoffs, and then
I
that's when we can
know.
pick the conversation back up. But it was kind of a stress-free summer.
I know. I got super busy. My sister got married. When we stopped recording at first, I was sick and I couldn't talk at one point. And then it was just a hectic summer. Yeah, but yeah, it's good to be back though. I enjoy this. But let's how was your summer? I guess I'll put it that way.
It was good. It was great.
Good. Yeah.
Went to a lot of Phillies games with you.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Hung out. Had a lot going on, but the winter months are coming, and uh yeah, kind of ready to lock back in for Red October.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. So let's talk about the season as a whole here. We're not gonna try and catch back up on what we missed in our hiatus, but
we did watch all of the
um
games. So
we
we watched
did.
a lot of the games. We were
We
still
watched a lot
watching.
of them.
Just
Yeah, don't worry. We know what happened. But um we finished the year, if assuming y'all know this, but we finished the year in 95 and 67, which is our best finish since 2011 when we also won the division. That year we had 102 wins and 60 losses. Um yeah, what any overall thoughts before we get into the next thought on how the season finished up?
no, I mean it's just at times they were playing at 100 win pace, and they kind of really slowed down after the All Star break. To kind of finish at that 95. But I mean, I think if anyone said that they were going to win 95 games at the beginning of the year, they'd be more than thrilled. I think this year in baseball was just a little bit different, just because I feel like the competition was just. I mean, there was just more
It
teams
felt
that were
very
kind of.
even.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's more teams that were kind of middle of the pack. Usually there's like, every team at the end of the division is, just not in it at all and is horrible, like, and just packs it in like early to mid August. But I feel like this year
Yeah.
there's a lot more of those
There's a
middle
lot of
tier teams
young
that were fighting for a wild card
yeah.
spot.
There's a lot of
On
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, 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 go for it.
There's a lot of it felt like there's a lot of teams like the Nationals and the Pirates who they had young players coming up
Hmm.
and they're kind of just pushing their young guys at the end saying like, "Hey, I want to see what you got." Like the Lions, yeah. The Tigers it's football season, The Tigers, the Tigers are an example of that. They brought Jackson Jobe up and they pushed at the end. Jobe didn't pitch a lot, but they kind of brought young people up and they said, "Let's go for it." And the Nationals, they brought up Dylan Cruz and James Wood, and they kind of pushed the second half of the season just to see what the young dudes got. And you saw that the last series of the season where they did what they could do, and young guys aren't gonna be consistent, but it made it interesting. I mean, the Marlins and the White Sox were horrendous, but besides that, it's been um, young teams kind of seeing what they got and surprising big league like contending teams just by players stepping up and kind of wanting to prove themselves against big league competition when it mattered the most
Hmm.
for big league clubs. And yeah.
No, absolutely. And I mean, we still have the number 2 seed in
Mm-hmm.
the whole playoffs. I mean, I know the Dodgers have number 1, which could come into play, but I mean, you know, the American League leader won 93 games. We won, or 94 games. We won 95. I mean, it's good how the landscape's kind of changing.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice seeing teams like the Tigers back in it and the Royals. It seems like, a lot of those teams that were great 10 years ago are kind of on the upswing now, and some of those other teams are falling off. So it's
Yeah,
always fun. I always like seeing different landscape.
it's
Just makes it
that
more exciting and interesting
it's that
watching these games
spot.
today.
Oh yeah, the games today have been really entertaining. Watching the
Hmm.
we can just touch on it briefly. None of the home teams have won so far. The higher seeds, which are the home teams, have none of them have won so far. The Tigers won, the Royals won. Um, Blanking on oh yeah, those are the only two finished games. At this point, the Mets are up 8-4.
Hmm.
Um, Looks like they're gonna. I mean, I don't want to say anything because we all saw how that first Braves Mets game went, but um, they're up 8-4 right now. But yeah, it's teams that kind of thought they were out of it. The league just kind of stayed even throughout, and teams that thought they were out of it could get hot at the end here, and they were able to pull it back out. And especially someone like the Mets, who everyone thought were out of it, and they just never gave up, and they just kept. I mean, good for them. They kept pushing, but we'll get into that later. But
Hmm.
yeah, but it's just I think as a whole, the league's at this spot where it's a transition phase between the young guys coming up and taking over and the older people still being good and the younger guys getting good. And so it's that weird spot where it's like everyone's good, but we're going to hit that spot where the teams that have a lot of the older players, that's when they teeter off and they become the worst teams because now they're stuck with the older guys on big contracts. Um, and the young teams have players that are just getting better and they're not getting worse. So it's that weird spot where the teams that were considered bad before are catching up to the other teams before we kind of teetered back the other direction. So it's at a spot where the landscape's even and it just makes the season entertaining.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think more owners too are kind of um, go all in and get their teams together. I mean, this is really a crazy buying market at the deadline, which I feel like is why not a lot of like splashy moves really happened because everyone's trying to hold on and fight for. I think that's also with the two wild cards. Yeah, the extra wild card spot really opened up as well. Um, really helped that out. So yeah, I really like
Yeah.
where the game's at right now, and it's I'm glad the Phillies are uh, at the top of the food chain, if you will. Some of the best teams. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about we touched on the Mets there a little bit. So let's talk about how we finished up the season here. So
Mhm.
we played the Mets 7. So what I'm looking at here is finish the season is last 16 games, sorry, from September 13th on. The reason I chose September 13th is because it seems like the entire league all started a new series of their last 16 games on that day. It could just be how the calendar fell, but so it was a good spot for the teams that we're going to compare here, which are us, the Dodgers, the Brewers, and the Mets. Those are the teams I'm going to compare just because they're the key people right now. As the Dodgers, we were fighting for first seed. Brewers are third seed, and we could easily play them in the next round. Mets, they're playing the Brewers, so we could easily play them in the next round. So we're going to key in on those four. Um, but so we're going to take a sec here, compare all them, how they finished. September and how we all wrapped up the last 16 games of the season. So let's touch on the Phillies here to start with. Um, Going in, they finished September going 15-10, which having a winning record in the last month of the season is good considering how the rest was going. We had just come out of July 10-14 and just barely scraped above 500 in August at 15-13. So finishing the season 15-11, I guess it actually is. Um, Either way, finishing the season on a high note there is good. But what I want to key in on is this last 16 games, as I talked about. So we we went 7-9 in those last 16 games there. What do you think about that, Brennan?
Definitely not what I would have liked. I mean, it seemed like they were getting hot like towards the end, and then they kind of petered off during those four series that you mentioned. I mean, they took care of business against the Cubs to clinch the NL East, but you definitely would have liked to see them beat up on those teams a little more. But I will say they really weren't playing for a whole lot. And they were, I mean, the Mets were playing for literally their life, the rest of their season. I mean, if they didn't, you know, win at least two, uh, they wouldn't have been able to make the playoffs, more than likely. And then Brewers were still fighting to kind of try to catch up with us, for that two seed for the for the bye. And then the Nat series, by that point it was just kind of wrapped up. The seeding was wrapped up. They had the NL East. There really wasn't much to play for. So I definitely get worried seeing a lot of these teams that are red hot, which we'll touch on, going into the playoffs. But what I'm kind of telling myself is, the last 2 years we had pretty bad Septembers and kind of backed our way into the playoffs in 22, went all the way to the World Series, and then last year had a comfortable wild card spot, but didn't really get on a hot streak or anything. Just kind of teetered around, and then obviously went on to the Game 7 of the NLCS. So would have liked to see a better finish. Do I think it's indicative of how they're going to play in the playoffs? I don't know. So
Yeah, it just concerns me how, yeah, I don't know what to think, just because they, like you were saying, they didn't have much to play for and they lost focus, it seemed like. Um, Now, fighting for a championship should refocus them all, and it has in the past.
mhm.
But the thing that concerns me is they needed something to focus on to stay focused. They couldn't just stay focused and push through, which I would have liked. I would have preferred to see. I would have preferred to see a lot of things happen at the end of the year, but um, uh, yeah, but um, we'll see. But yeah, let's put it this way. So we played the Mets and Brewers each in the final 16 games. We didn't win either of those series. We, or well, as a whole, we played the Mets 7 times to finish the season, and we lost 4 of those 7 games. The Brewer series, we played a 3-game series. We lost 2 of the 3, and we lost 2 of 3 to the Cubs. Now, or not the Cubs, the Nats, and we won 2 of the 3 against the Cubs, which is who we clinched the division against. Now, just for me, like you were saying, the Mets and Brewers, they had something to play for. But at the same time, we had something to play for there too, as we were trying to push for the division. We were trying to push for the number 1 seed. Um, and clearly, they weren't really all focused on getting that number 1 seed. They were all more focused on winning the division, which
Mhm.
is fine. But to win the division, they could have won the division multiple times in that 4-game series against the Mets, and they just couldn't win a game, which is the concerning spot because the Mets have been hot, and now we might have to play them in the next round as they keep playing. And we're sitting at home. Now, they're supposedly doing some simulated games and stuff, but like they're a potential next opponent and they're staying hot, and we were not very hot to finish the season, and now we have to try and get ourselves moving after sitting around for a while, which
This is a little off topic, but do you believe in that notion that this week off's actually like detrimental to the team, or do you think that's just kind of baloney?
I think is kind of baloney.
Yeah.
Now, like, yeah, but um, I don't know. The Braves, I can't remember how the Braves finished the season the last 2 years. If they finished hot and then sat and got cold, or if they were kind of finishing just so,
Hmm.
even keel, and then just held that through. But the last couple of years, it seems like the week off is hurt. but it also could just be like a mentality thing where the teams that have won in the wild card, they're all, you know, juiced up from just winning a series.
Hmm.
And then they come in not just hot and focused, but they come in with this sense of like, hey, we just beat. A lot of it's been the like Diamondbacks and Phillies who are lower seeds beating higher seeds in the wild card. So they come in, hey, we can do this. We're gonna do this. So they
Hmm.
push through and do it. I mean, essentially. Um Maloney, uh yeah. Um just because I don't think the players on the Braves have that sense of
That dog in them.
yeah, that I'm being
No, I
serious.
think I think they're just
Acuna doesn't
whiny
have it.
babies.
Olson's a great player, but he doesn't have that next gear of I'm focused, I'm locked in, I'm coming out. He doesn't have that killer instinct.
Hmm.
And neither does Austin Riley. They're all really good baseball players. I'm not trying to take anything away from that, but Acuna, it took Freddie Freeman to focus Acuna to be able to win the World Series the year that they won it. Granted, Acuna wasn't even playing because he was hurt, but um, like it took Freddie Freeman, when that man is locked in, you can't get anything past him, and
Hmm.
he just has this next level where Matt Olson, like I keep saying, is his direct replacement essentially. And I'm not saying he's not as good because they're both like really good players, but I just don't think Matt Olson has that, I'm going to carry this team on my back. I'm going to do this because this is what I want. Where Bryce Harper is like, I want this. I'm going to go for it with all I got, and I'm not going to take no for an answer. I don't think Matt Olson and Austin Riley have that. Chris Sale now, he has
Until
it.
it's game 6 and 7 of the NLCS.
Yes. Then everyone forgets how to hit. Well, I think I think yes. But
Sorry, I'm still very scarred from that. If you guys
so am
can't
I. That's
tell.
why I was glad the Diamondbacks got knocked.
I was so glad.
Yeah, me too. Um, the last thing I wanted to do is face the Diamondbacks in the playoffs because I don't think our team mentally could have taken that. Um, no, I didn't want to see them coming to Philly. But what I think happened in that, they got over focused. They wanted it so badly that they started trying too hard and they just didn't
Hmm.
let the baseball come to them, which is a fear that I have because I know they do that. They get so ingrained in this desire for the championship that they don't
Pressed a
just
little too
let the
hard.
baseball come to them. Yeah, and I was listening to some of the Astros um Tigers game while I was at work, and the one thing that the one um announcer was talking about was when Jason Hayward joined the Astros, one of the first conversations he had with John Singleton, who is um I actually don't know what he's a first baseman, but I don't know where he really plays anymore, when he plays, if he's just a bad bench bat or what. One of the first things he said to him was um stop trying so hard, essentially. Like you have all this power in you, just like physical power. You don't have to swing the bat terribly hard to hit the ball a mile. Where that doesn't just apply on that standpoint, it applies on like the Philly standpoint too. They're all such good players and their bat to ball skill is so good that they don't need to swing for the fences every single time because that's what they were doing, and they don't need to do it themselves because they have players behind them that are going to pick them up. Like Trey Turner started swinging at everything because he probably thought, hey, this is my first year here. This is what they brought me in to do. I got to do it myself. No, you don't have to do it yourself. Casty was trying to get past some demons, which it looks like he's kind of finally pushed past. And they were all trying to do it themselves and not play as a team, which I think what they were doing best early in the year when they were on like a 100 win pace was they trusted the guy behind them to pick them up. Whether or not it was I'm just going to get in scoring position instead of hitting home run, I'm going to lace a double through the gap. I'm going to draw a walk instead of trying to get a hit,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to trust the guy behind me to pick me up. And the top three guys in that lineup did that, and Bohm paid off. Like Bohm paid it off for him the whole season. Where Bohm, I think, led the National League in RBIs by the All Star break, where he's pretty
Mm-hmm.
close to it. Now, if they can get back to that type of baseball, that's great because at the end of the season here, it felt like each of them was trying to, besides Trey just kind of did his thing, but a lot of the and Casty, the two guys
Mm-hmm.
that frustrated me the most last year in the playoffs, were the only two guys this year that were out there doing their thing and trusting the other people in the lineup. Harper just kind of seemed like it just didn't feel like team baseball. It felt very
Yeah.
disjointed, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, is the best way to put that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think they were trying to rely on the long ball too much too. I mean, they were just like
They
launching
didn't.
them out in the first few rounds and getting the place to go crazy, but then they kind of, like you said, were trying to do too much and trying to hit it out of the park when all they really, and then you see the Diamondbacks manufacture runs, like get a single, steal a base, get them over, get them in, and I think that really is the key this year to go all the way for the Phillies is if they can really get to that because they've done that this year more at times than they have in past years, in my opinion, during throughout the year.
Hmm.
I know home runs were a little down from last year, but obviously runs were up and they won more
Yeah.
games, which I think is a really encouraging sign going into the playoffs this year.
Yeah, the one thing when they were playing their best earlier in the year, what they were doing is, yeah, they would hit home runs, but they were getting on base, driving the ball to the outfield, and just hitting the ball hard, moving the runners,
Hmm.
and doing the things that this Phillies team normally doesn't do,
Yeah.
which is manufacturing runs instead of just hitting long balls.
Hmm.
Dombro built this team to win on the long ball, but it's also a type of team where after getting Trey Turner, it should be more balanced now that we don't. And having Bohm come into his own, we shouldn't need to rely on the long ball. The long ball's there with Schwarber batting leadoff, Harper batting third, and Bohm, Real Muto, Casty, like they can all hit the long ball here and there. But we got guys like Schwarber leading off who, yeah, he's going to hit the long ball, obviously, but he's also going to get on base at a high rate. You got Turner who's going to get on base at a high rate and steal bases and manufacture like and take take scoring position. If he can't get into it on the hit, he's going to get in scoring position by the end of Bryce Harper's at bat, whether or not it's because Bryce got him to third, he stole second and then stole third. Somehow he's going to end up at third. It feels like anymore. Um, but like we have a team that can manufacture runs. They just have to be smart about it. Like you can't get into position where you're trying too hard to manufacture a run, then where you're getting thrown out on the base paths. You have to take what they give you to an extent, but you also have to push the envelope and make them make mistakes. Like that's what was happening in the Astros game. Like the Tigers are so aggressive on the base pass in a good way, not in a bad way, where they were making the right decisions. They were taking the extra base, and then because they took the extra base, like there's one play where the guy hit a single, the guy went from first to third. The throw from Kyle Tucker came in from right field to the third baseman, and on the throw, the guy that hit the single took second base. But like it's things like that that Harper loves to try and do,
Hmm.
and Turner will do. And if they do those and Bohm and Casty come up with the way they've been hitting, I think we're in good shape. It's just like playing. It's like that team baseball that we talk about, picking each other up, and when someone else does something right, you don't leave them out to dry, essentially.
Hmm.
Um, and it's been a while since we go into the playoffs, and it's felt like not everyone's been clicking at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like Harper comes in strong and he stays strong for most of the playoffs on his own, and it's just like Cassie got hot and then Cassie got cold. Reese was super cold the entire playoffs, and so was Schwarber 2 years ago. And it's like they're not all hot at the same time. Now, if they could just all get hot and stay hot, that's ideal. I'm not saying that's possible, but if the clubhouse is so tight, I feel like you could get them all to focus on this goal and work together, and that would be the best way to get them all focused. That you're not doing it for you, you're doing it for the guy next to you. And if they could all buy into that, then I feel like we'd be in a really good spot. But I don't know what to expect, because like we were saying, the last month or two of the season just felt weird because
Mm-hmm.
we were kind of scraping along and straggling along. Like we were still putting up wins and we were still holding top two seeds in the conference, but in the yeah in the National League, whatever, it's not football. Uh, we were still holding the top two seeds in the National League, but like Bohm was out for some of it. Turner was out for some of the beginning of the second half. Um, Schwarber missed, I don't know, a couple games here or there. Austin Hayes had a hamstring injury and then apparently got some kidney infection that I missed somehow. I just thought he had a nagging hamstring thing. Cassie was there the whole season. Man played 162 games. Clap for him. What a man.
That's
But
tough. That's tough to do.
that's tough to do. I know.
Yeah.
Pete
And
Alonso
he
did it
battled through
too.
it too. Like he
Yeah.
battled. Like he
Of
did
all
not.
guys you would say to do it, you would think it'd be someone like um not Casty, I guess. Just because it feels like Casty's been battling through a lot of stuff recently that every now and then Topper's like, I need to give you a mental break day off, and Casty's like, no, I don't want it this year. But um what was I talking about before that? I don't know.
Uh, fundamental baseball.
Yeah, but there's something specific. Oh yeah. So there's like it was a really weird end of the season because like guys would get these weird injuries that weren't supposed to keep them out for a while. And then they kept him out for longer than we thought. And then Cody Clemens would come up and rake, and then Cody Clemens would get sent back down. And
Mm-hmm.
then someone else would get hurt, and Cody Clemens would come back up, and Cody Clemens would rake, and then Cody Clemens would get sent back down. Weston Wilson would come up. He'd play pretty well, to the point where now Weston Wilson and Cody Clemens are probably going to be on this roster instead of um, Austin Hayes and who's the other bench guy that's probably not making it now?
Weston Wilson.
Well, no, because no, because my assumption is it's gonna be the bench is gonna be because didn't we carry a four-guy bench
I
most
think
of the
so. Yeah.
season? I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to think of the four guys because in my mind the bench is
Rojas.
I don't know. He's gonna make it though because
He'll be on the. Yeah, he'll be on the team. I feel like it'll be.
I guess it was only a three-person bench.
I feel like it'll be Edmundo, Clemens, Rojas, and who? Oh, and Stubbs, right?
But then if you're saying Rouse on the bench, who's your starting outfield? Cassie
Uh,
Marsh and who?
and oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
So I was thinking a four-man bench of Stubbs, Clemens, Wilson, and Sosa.
I like that.
That's what I was thinking it was gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Hayes isn't gonna make it, and I was thinking of Witt. Yeah, he's on the Braves.
Oh wait.
Um,
It is
boy,
a bummer what happened with Hayes because I feel like he was a solid pickup. I was like, he's gonna get a big hit for us in some playoff series. I have a feeling about it.
yeah,
So hopefully he can rebound and come back. But I feel like if you haven't seen live pitching in so long, I mean that's tough to do and thrust yourself into a championship race.
Yeah.
But
But anyway, let's get a little back on track, I guess.
yeah.
So that's how the Phillies finished the season, in our opinion. It just kind of, I guess, to sum it up, disjointed.
Mhm.
But if they can all get healthy and our starting nine be the starting nine, um, and back to playing how we were at the beginning of the year, I think we'll be good. Um, but the Dodgers finished the month of September 11-5. They won 16-10. They had really easy teams in comparison. They played the Marlins and the Rockies twice. Now they also played the Braves and the Padres, who are two playoff teams. And they split the Braves series 2-2, and they won 2 of 3 versus the Padres. So it's not like they had those. It's not like the other 2 series they had were gimmies. But let's be honest, they played the Rockies once at home and once in Colorado.
Mhm.
Like you send Shohei to Colorado, that's just unfair. You send Shohei to Miami and he gets some like I don't know. I can't think of I can't think of the weird thing I was gonna say, but apparently he gets some type of like superpower. He eats like a this stinking star from Mario, and he's just. But
Did you see too that ball is up for auction right now for 1.2 million?
did you see that? Apparently, some kid's trying to claim that he got the ball first, and he's suing the guy for the ball.
Yeah, it was the guy
Yeah,
in like the orange Marlins jersey, right? In the video, if you saw the
I haven't
video.
seen the video of pointing out who it was. I just heard about it, and I thought it was a little
Yeah.
ridiculous, and I just moved on with my life.
I mean, yeah, that's a lot of money, you know. Like
I know it is.
some lawyers trying to make a case for that money, but
I don't blame him. But so the Dodgers finished well.
mhm.
Um, and that's
Do the
who we were.
Dodgers? Sorry, I don't. Do the
Oh,
Dodgers
I'm just
scare
gonna
you?
say that's who we were competing like neck and neck for to finish, and they
Yeah.
finished well. And I mean, they finished one game better than us in September, but it was really those last 16 games. So like, what I wanted to, I guess the one point, and I heard your question. I'll get to it in a
Mhm.
second. Um, as of September 13th, before we played our game and before the Dodgers played their game, we were 88-58. They were 87-59. If we would have just finished 10-6 instead of the Dodgers 11-5. If we would have finished 10-6 and the Dodgers finished 11-5, we would have first place because we have the tiebreaker over the Dodgers. But instead, the Dodgers finished stinking hot as all get out. Shohei went ballistic, and um, they took first place and they won it by 2 games then, or 3 games. Pardon. So it's not like they won it by a small margin either. It was um, we had to win games. What it came down to, there's games we needed to win against the Cubs and the Nationals and the Mets that we just couldn't pull out. And
Mhm.
like I said, it was a weird disjointed feeling to the end of the season where it's like the storyline was, oh, they're going to clinch the division, and that was the storyline for like a week, and they just couldn't do it. And it's just like, come on, guys, just you got to focus, you got to pull it together.
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't know. Anyway, but the Dodgers scare me. Um, yeah, a little bit. It's more so Shohei scares me
Mhm.
than anything. Zach Wheeler, whenever I watch them play each other, it always seems like Zach Wheeler comes out on top. Now, I don't know that for a fact. Um, but it always seems like um Zach Wheeler comes out on top, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are downplaying the Dodgers this year just because of their rotation kind of being in shambles, and then the last 2 years really choking in the playoffs. But if we see them in the NLCS, I will not feel good about that series. I'll just put it that way. I think it.
Yeah,
I think if I think if for them to not be a problem, it will be that they just don't get to the NLCS. But if they do, I would definitely be worried about that series.
Yeah, they do scare me. I don't know what their pitching's like in all reality because people keep getting hurt. So I really don't know what their pitching's like. But it really is our lineup that scares me just because like Shohei's doing what he's doing right now, and you don't even hear of the like solid season that Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman are having.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean that's the ridiculous part. But so apparently, there have been 6 plate appearances between Zach Wheeler and Shohei is 2 of 3 with 3 walks
Hmm.
and a strikeout. Um, doesn't have an extra base hit. Those 2 hits were singles. But so it's not like he's done massive damage. But no, the Dodgers, they do scare me. Let me look up their roster. Um, active roster. All right, so Bueller's hurt. Flaherty's not hurt. I thought Flaherty was hurt for a second. Bueller is hurt, right? I'm not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and Yamamoto's still not back, unless I missed that.
Yeah, he's not back either.
Yeah, so I guess he is back. He pitched 5 innings on the 28th.
Oh, I did not know that.
Neither did I. Yeah, he came back at the beginning of September. And he wasn't terrible. So he's back. So they got Yamamoto. They have. But we don't need to go too depth in that. But they do scare me just because it is the Dodgers. But it feels like and it could just be from my memory because it's what I held on to as a kid. It always feels like we beat the Dodgers in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, granted, my most vivid memory from Phillies playoffs is still Matt Stairs whacking that ball into right field in 08. So I'm not saying I remember much before 08 because I was about 9 in 2008 when we won the World Series. So that's really my earliest Phillies playoffs and baseball memory in general. But it just feels like we always have the Dodgers number in the playoffs whenever we
Yeah.
meet up. But I'm not saying we meet up often. But let's do this. Let's talk about the Brewers and the Mets before we talk about the Dodgers. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. One series at a time. But I will say the Dodgers do scare me, but I think it'll be a really good series.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, currently it is the bottom of the 9th inning. Start of the bottom of the 9th inning. The Mets are up 8-4. Now there's one out. Okay. So, it looks like the Mets are gonna. I can't really jinx anything because I'm a partial party. I really don't care who wins. We have to play one of them one way or another, and they both terrify me because we couldn't beat them at the end of the season here. But it looks like the Mets are gonna win. So let's talk about the Brewers, though. The Brewers are the opposite end of the Mets. Put it that way. I guess we could talk about them both at the same time. The Mets finished 17-9 in September, which is ridiculous. Like,
Mm-hmm.
holy smokes. Um, they finished hot. We're gonna have to play them possibly. We couldn't beat them. Like, if essentially you look at that as a 7-game series, we couldn't beat them at the end of the season there. Um, Now we're only gonna have 5 games, and yeah. So with how hot they are right now, I think they scare me the most.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say the Brewers aren't a good team. They are, and they seem to always give us a hard time whenever we play them. But the Mets right now are super hot, and this might be Pete Alonso's last year in New York. They all are kind of playing for Pete, is kind of what it sounds like, and what it feels like. They're all really together in this, and like I said, and baseball, when you get hot, you get hot. Um, but everyone's got to cool off eventually. It just seems like no one knows how to cool off the Mets at the moment.
Yeah.
Um,
I think selfishly, I would love to see the Phillies play the Mets, just
oh,
because I want.
me too, because it'd be a great NL East
Oh
matchup.
yeah,
Yeah.
bring that
Um,
rivalry back.
I would also love to see, though. I also like it when the Phillies and Brewers play because they always seem to meet each other in the playoffs
Mm-hmm.
too, and that's also just a good playoff rivalry. And it'd be fun to see Hoskins come back to Philly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Either way, we're looking at a really good first series, I
yeah,
think, with the storylines.
I think. Um, who would you least want to play? For me, it's the Mets.
Definitely at least want to play the Mets. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Like,
the
I don't want to say I'm
feeling
wishing
more
for the Brewers because that makes it sound like the Brewers are a worse team. Like,
right.
I really don't think they're a worse team. They're just not hot
Mm-hmm.
right now,
And
like
I
the
mean,
Mets are.
either way, you kind of do it too. I mean, either team's gonna have won their last series, so I guess technically they would be hot, as well. But yeah, no, the Mets are just scary right now, and they're all kind of rallying together, and their pitching's been really good. It just like
Yeah.
on paper it doesn't scare me, but they've been really good, so you have to respect it a little bit. I feel like they just I feel like the Mets pitchers don't scare me as much as the Brewers pitchers do.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they're having no problem against the Brewers pitchers tonight, though. But
Yeah.
I think either way, I think the Phillies can control their own destiny. I mean, they are better than every team on paper. They've had a better record than every team. They have the capability of playing of really just winning this thing. I think it's all kind of what they decide, which
Mm-hmm.
sounds kind of dumb, but I just feel like like they were the
Well,
much better team against the Diamondbacks last year.
Mets
Couldn't get it
just won.
done. So I just hope that they play their best baseball, and even if not all of them are red hot and clicking, you know, Bryce and Casty and Trey can do enough to kind of lead the charge as like the high paid veterans that they
Yeah.
are.
Well, I think on paper, and I hate using that word on paper, but it's true. Like, the Phillies could stack up against any team in baseball
Hmm.
and easily win a 7-game series against anyone. Um, but they need to be focused. Mets just won, by the way. Um, wow. The Mets had 7 hits. They had less hits than runs, and they had less hits than the Brewers, and put up twice as many. That's impressive. That's scary. But you look between the Brewers, Mets, and Phillies, and I think the Phillies clearly are the better team than all of them. The Brewers are close just because their pitching staff is like ridiculous, like just depth wise. Like they don't have the top end talent like the Phillies do, but there's not much of a drop off in their bullpen from one guy to the next. Um, Especially now, I think our bullpens. You take the top 4 guys in the Brewers bullpen and the top 4 guys in our bullpen. You compare like compare them, they're comparable. I think the Brewers might be a little better just because of Devin Williams, but
Mhm.
um, I really think it's close. And you look at the Mets bullpen, and the only one in there that scares me is Edwin Diaz. And when Edwin Diaz pitches, you don't know when you're getting though. That's
Mhm.
the thing. The end of the
I feel like
season
the
here.
Phillies have his number too.
Yeah. Well, same with Raisel Iglesias. Like the Braves can't let him pitch against the Phillies again, or else he'll just blow another lead. Um, that's I think Raisel Iglesias could be washed next year, but well, that's a we don't need to talk about that. Um, so it really just depends on what team you're getting, though. Are
Mhm.
you getting the unfocused team, or are you going to get the team where they got each other's backs and they're in here to win and they're not here for anything else? So we'll we'll see. But if the Mets play like this again tomorrow, it looks like we'll be playing the Mets on Saturday.
Which I kind of excited for. But if they
Yeah,
lose to the Mets, though, that is going to be the most
it's going to be
painful thing.
heartbreaking.
Oh,
It's going to be like when it will literally be like when because the Cardinals were the Brewers the year we went to the World Series because
hmm
they won the Central that year, and we no Central was really weak that year, but we were the sixth seed. We went into St. Louis. We beat the Cardinals. We came out. We were the third seed in our division, and we beat the one seed in our division to move on. And we eventually got to the playoffs, and it's because we finished so hot down the stretch. But so that's the only reason the Mets scare me is because they remind me of us when we went to the World Series. I'm not saying they have as good of players because we had a lot of good players that year, and it just took the whole season for it all to click.
hmm
But Starling Marte is looking like the Starling Marte from the Pirates and not the Starling Marte that's been floating around the MLB the past couple of years. Um, I don't know what Lindor is looking like. Not prime, but he's looking clutch.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
He's really kind of stepping up and being that factor, that X factor leader, kind
the
of
one
like
that
what
they thought
Harper
they were
is.
getting. Yeah,
hmm
yeah. So, yeah,
The,
it's
the Brewers too, like every year, just like don't do anything in the playoffs. It seems like.
yeah. And now they don't even have Craig Counsell. So,
hmm
but or Corbin, they don't even have Corbin Burns either.
Also, have you seen the ticket prices with apparently that they're just so high because Mets fans are buying them up to try to take over the stadium, which is not that would not be good.
No,
I mean, it won't happen, like,
trust me.
but
There's enough people that buy that. There's enough people that own season tickets
yeah.
that already have tickets. Me being
hmm
one of them. That um, unless they're just in it for the money, which I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm in it to go to the games.
Yeah.
But
When's your first game that you got tickets
Sunday,
for? Sunday? Nice.
yeah. Um, Manny was trying to get me to buy tickets to go
On
Saturday.
Saturday?
Yeah,
Dude,
but
that's
at the point
crazy.
that we were looking, I don't know what they are now, but when we were originally looking,
hmm
one ticket cost more than both my tickets combined.
Jeez.
So I told him I'm like I'll come watch the game with you,
Yeah.
but I'm not going.
Yeah, it wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah. Um. So on that note, depending on no matter who we play, um, who do you think or what do you think the keys are for us to
Yeah, I think we kind of
win?
touched on a lot of the things I wanted to say, but I think that I think like like we talked about earlier for a while, can't talk about it too much, but I think they were just trying to do too much, like you said, trying to hit home runs, and that's kind of what led to their downfall last year. I think just really not rely on the long ball and playing good fundamental baseball is gonna help them the most. And on it this year, I feel like more than the other years, they really haven't played like that, which makes me very hopeful. I hope that this whole week off thing isn't an excuse and isn't something that actually comes into effect. Um, Ranger Suarez has been kind of concerning me. I mean, he just kind of got lit up for the last couple of months with a few quality starts in there. But I mean, and that was kind of his story the last 2 years too. Like, really didn't have a great regular season, and then coming to the playoffs, and he's just slow, like calm and steady. Pitched his 5 innings, and I think this year with our bullpen depth, I mean, we can afford to have Sanchez and Suarez really only go 5 innings, because we have Kirkering, you know, Kirkering, Strom. I mean, Alvarado's a little. I don't know if I want to trust him too much in the playoffs, but matchup wise, I feel good with lefty dominant. 1, 2, 3 coming up. But I just feel like the depth this year in the bullpen is really gonna be huge. Plus, we have depth in the. I mean, in the World Series, we started Noah Syndergaard, because we didn't have a fourth starter. So now that with Sanchez playing as good as he's been playing, I mean, we have four really quality starters. I don't think many other teams can say that in the National League or in the all of baseball. So I overall feel really good about it. There's just something in me that's like nervous, but I've been nervous the last 2 years as well, and I think it's just the anxiety that comes with the playoffs because I just want this team to win a World Series so bad. I mean, just how great of guys they are and how
Yeah.
so many of them have had these long careers on losing teams, and this is kind of their first winning teams, like JT and Nick and Bryce. Just for them to all win a World Series together would just be unbelievable. So I think they're set up to do it. I think it really just will depend on their offense. I think the pitching's going to be great. They play solid defense. There's not going to be any defensive blunders. I think it just really comes down to if they can hit home runs and manufacture runs the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I was looking up while you're talking there. I was looking up Suarez's stats. So he's got a 5.20 ERA in September this year, and last year in September he had a 6.10 ERA.
Mm.
So,
Wow.
and Suarez in the postseason was pretty good last year,
Mm-hmm.
if I do say so
That's kind of
myself.
reassuring.
Yeah. So, yeah, in the postseason and last year he had a 1.93 ERA.
Yeah, that's real good. He's in his career, he's 3-1 with a 1.62 ERA
Yeah.
in 9 appearances, which is huge. I mean, his postseason success was really huge the last 2 years. I mean, on top of Wheeler and Nola, obviously. And it'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see how Sanchez does. He really hasn't pitched in the postseason for us yet, so I trust him though, especially at home. So
So I guess that would be my next question. Do you pitch Sanchez Sunday instead of Nola? Just to
I
get
think
him to pitch at home? Or
I think
do
I think
you
I do.
kind of like, yeah, you would?
I think I would.
Or do you
Just be,
hope that if you win game one, sorry to keep cutting you off, if you win game
mm,
one, pitch Nola game two, you're up 2-0, right?
mhm.
You go away and you let playoff Suarez pitch.
So you're
You win
saying
all
flip.
three, you win three, you sweep. You sweep in three.
Mhm.
You come potentially you come home for game one, depending on who wins the Dodgers series. Suarez can pitch game one at home. Sanchez can pitch game one at home, and then you're back to Wheeler. Now that would be ideal in my
Yeah.
mind.
Mhm.
But if we have to play the Braves, or sorry, the Mets, well, it's the first time in a while where the Braves, Mets, and Phillies are all back in the playoffs again
Yeah.
at the same time. That hasn't
I don't
happened.
even remember that happening. honestly, in my lifetime.
It's definitely happened. It's had to because they're always all right there competing with each other.
See, maybe not though, because before the wild card was expanded, only 2 teams from each division could get in, right? Or no, there could be 3 teams from the
It
same
just they'd
division.
have to both win the wild card.
Yeah, I don't think that's happened in my lifetime.
I don't know. I just always remember them talking about Johan Santana, and growing up, it was always when Johan Santana was on the Mets, him tormenting the Phillies, and like that Mets team with Jose Reyes pushing for the playoffs. And then
Hmm.
the Braves team at that point would have been a young Freddie Freeman. Um, Maybe not even a young Freddie Freeman yet. He might not have been there, but it was at least Chipper Jones and some type of Andrew Jones. I don't know if it was an older Andrew Jones or if and getting my timelines all mixed up now. But Chipper was there. Chipper was there with what's his face pitching, and Brian McCann.
Mm. Oh
That's
yeah.
who I'm thinking of. I mean, he was there with Freddie at some point, but Chipper, Brian, and who was that pitcher that I'm forgetting of? Tim Hudson
Uh, Tim Hudson. Yeah.
was one of them. They always have like a at least. It feels like the Braves if they don't have three aces, they at least have two all the
Yeah.
time. Like if Strider was healthy, it'd be him and Fried. And this year would have been Sale, deciding that he remembers how to pitch and stay healthy. Oh, look, they're talking about the Braves. But yeah, no, I think it'll be interesting how Rob Thompson plays it, in terms of uh, pitching.
Hmm.
It'll really be interesting to see, because I feel like if we win game one with Wheeler pitching, um, pitching Nola game two is either it signifies one of two things. Topper has confidence that we're gonna win game three away, or he has confidence that Sanchez can step it up and not worry about, like, this is all assuming Sanchez is the number three starter. It could be
Hmm.
Suarez just because of his playoff pedigree, but
I think it would be Suarez.
I would too. You never know with
Hmm.
Topper,
Yeah, true.
but
Yeah, I'm not against them pitching Sanchez in game 2 at all. Um, Nola won't take any slight to it, and the numbers are staggering how much better he is at home.
yeah,
So it's kind of like annoying that's a conversation just because like how can it really matter that much? I mean, I guess especially a hitter friendly ballpark at Citizen Bank,
yeah.
But if it's working, would you consider like trying the first round, and if he just gets blown up at home, trying to readjust, or you think it's just if they said it, they just got to roll with it?
In terms of what?
The rotation, like Sanchez, if they just
Oh, if they
start
try to
Sanchez,
have him pitch at home.
yeah, and see how it goes,
I mean, the numbers would suggest.
or on the road. Sorry,
Oh, on the road.
if he just keeps it Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Sanchez, and if he does horrible on the road, you think that they try to readjust from there? Or you think that they would just?
I feel like if you're getting to a game four
Hmm.
where you need Sanchez to pitch, the yeah, I don't know, because the hope is that with Sanchez coming up to pitch, you would either have a long reliever that wouldn't have had pitched yet that
Hmm.
could go, but we don't really have one of them. Because as far as I'm aware, Turnbull's not coming back this year. Um,
He, they s- he said he's throwing in the simulated game.
okay. Well,
Yeah,
hopefully he could come
maybe.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a nice backup to Sanchez possibly not being able to go deep. But
Hmm.
I'd say go for it. You just need to have something in place where if Sanchez blows up, you have a quick, like, because it's not a regular season game. if Sanchez blows up in the first inning, you can't say, all right, he's going to come back out and dial in the next X number of innings. If he
Mm-hmm.
blows up in the first inning, he's done. You're moving on. So you
Yeah.
have to have some type of replacement there. Um, now,
Which Turnbull would be perfect.
yeah, now Sanchez has shown that he'll blow up, but he'll come back out settled down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like he's calm, cool, collected. It doesn't seem like he almost seems like Suarez mentality, not quite, but a little bit in the sense where, all right, yeah, I just messed up, but that doesn't dictate the rest of my outing.
Mm-hmm.
And his last outing was similar to that, where he was kind of blowing up in a sense, but he was able to settle down after JT talked to him. He found his command a little bit and was able to get back in a groove. But with Sanchez, it really depends on his command and
Mm-hmm.
whether it's there or not. Now, that can be said for a lot of pitchers, but with a pitcher like Sanchez in particular, where he's um, dancing around, if he doesn't have his command, then he's not going to get the other batters to swing and miss at
Mm-hmm.
pitches outside of the zone because they're not going to be looking for like if the pitches aren't in the zone, they're not going to swing at the stuff that's out of the zone thinking, "Oh, look, that looks like it's in the zone." kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Um and so this all seems like a lot of no duh Drew kind of stuff and it is, but um yeah, I don't know. Sanchez and Suarez both if their command's not there, um
Could get
Suarez
roughed
keeps
up pretty quick.
yeah, Suarez keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
Sanchez, um, if his changeup's not there, he kind of falls apart a little bit. But
Sorry, the Padres game just started out.
yeah, I know
Oh, that'd be kind of cool. Padres Phillies rematch.
it would be. But the Padres got hot here at the end of the
Yeah,
year
they're
too.
they're like they're probably the hottest team in the whole league. Like, yeah, any of the teams we talked about.
They went 18-10 in August and 16-8 in September.
That's dang good.
Yeah, it is. They almost caught the Dodgers. Not quite, but they were trying.
Yeah, they were flirting with it. Oh man, our buddy Merrifield's not in the lineup.
Oh no! Did you see Chris Sale's not playing?
Yeah, I did
He
see
didn't
that.
even make the
He's not on the
roster.
roster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Said he has like back spasms.
Mhm.
That's so annoying that he comes out of nowhere for a season. Is gonna take away the Cy Young from Wheeler, and he'll probably just be done after this. Like,
Yeah, I know. Well, you look at it, Wheeler almost won the Triple Crown. Would have like you look at the stats. Wheeler was second behind Sale in all those things except for like one, and I forget what the one was. It might have been strikeouts. Wheeler might have been like two behind him,
hmm
like two people behind him or something like that.
yeah.
Um, let's see. Let's look at the stat leaders when it loads. But yeah, let's wrap things up here and let's do something that we kind of skipped over. Let's end on a positive note, shall we? We didn't finish, we didn't do a whole lot of doom and gloom. It's just we have our worries and they're
hmm
warranted. Um, but dang, Michael King has movement on that sinker. Anyway, let's finish off with player awards. So the way, take gum, I need to sneeze. Here, you can kind of lead this. Well, I
Yeah.
don't sneeze or do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just kind of did all the different pitching groups, all the different position groups. So best infielder, outfielder, pitcher, starter, and reliever, and then most improved, biggest surprise, and then the team MVP. So Drew kind of outlined his. I have some people in mind as well, so we'll kind of talk back and forth on our picks. But Drew, who in your mind was our best, most valuable infielder this year?
So I had to go with Alec Boehm. Um, I'm a little partial just because Boehm is my favorite player, but um, I I just think the way we played the first half of the season and we
Mm-hmm.
took the league by storm, we wouldn't have happened if Boehm played kind of average
Mm-hmm.
how he played last year. He took a big step up this year, and the reason we are at where we're at now is because Boehm pretty much led this team, um, along with Trey. But Boehm really was the driving force. No pun intended with all the RBIs he driven, but um, he was the driving force the first half of the season, which is what got us to where we're at now in large part because we definitely, you know, stunk the bed here recently, and it's because of that hot start that Boom got off to that we're at where we're at now.
Yeah, I think Boehm's a good pick for it. There's a lot of guys you can pick. Makes it tough, but yeah, I mean Boehm. I'm loving the player that he's kind of turned into. I mean, everyone always says, "Yo, we wish he hits more home runs," but in reality, I mean, RBIs are the most important statistic in my opinion, and on base percentage. In you know in baseball. And then 2 years in a row with 97 RBIs. Batted 285 this year. Um, I mean, just no, that's not right. Actually, no, he didn't. He batted 275, right? Two 280, batted 280.
Okay.
But yeah, 280 with 97 RBIs again. 44 doubles, which is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the player he's turned into, and I think he's very underrated. He drives in a lot of runs, and yeah, I love giving that pick to Bohm. I think that's very fair. I mean, Harper too. I mean, I know he went on a really cold streak power wise, but he's been just consistent all year. I thought he was going to make another push for an MVP, and then he kind of teetered off and had some injury issues. But just, I mean, Bryce Harper's been consistency king in all the years that he's been healthy here in Philly. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would definitely say Alec Boehm kind of um, not really breaking out because he kind of broke out last year, but just his steady, run
The
driving
first half of the
inability
season,
is. Hmm.
yeah, first half of the season, he showed what he can really do. The pace at which, because like I agree with you, where I think RBIs are for a middle of the lineup hitter, RBIs are the most important number. Like you love home runs. You love seeing guys hit home runs, but I'm an old school guy. I don't care if you're hitting home runs if there's nobody on base.
Hmm.
Like if you end the season with 62 home runs, good for you. But if there's nobody on base, you only got 62 RBIs.
Hmm.
And if you have 50 plate appearances with at least two guys in scoring position, and you go over 50, but you still hit 62 home runs, like I said, I don't care because you had 50 chances to score two runs and you couldn't do it. So, um, those are extremes. I know I
Hmm.
like to play on the extremes, but um, I really think RBIs are the most important. And he had like 80 by the All Star break or something ridiculous. Um, maybe not that high. It was like 60, but um, yeah,
I was gonna say if he only had 17 RBIs the rest of the season, that wouldn't have been very good.
he was hurt for a while.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Yeah,
Yeah, he definitely would have had 100 if he wasn't hurt. I forgot about that. I was like,
it's a
that's thanks
shame.
2 years in a row, 97. But
I know that's what I was thinking when you said he had
yeah.
97 2 years in a row. I was like, oh, poor Boomer.
So so most valuable outfielder for the year. So I guess best outfielder. Who do you have? I think there's really no contest for this.
Yeah, so let's clarify. So infield was infield slash catcher because catcher infield. DH goes with
Hmm.
outfield. So I'm going with Schwarber.
Hmm.
He had over 100 RBIs. His on base percentage was over 360. He batted over 250, I think, or at least finished the year batting close to over. It might have been 246 actually. Quickly pulling it up. 248. He almost hit 250. But he had 38 home runs, 104 RBIs.
I'm so glad he didn't bat like 190 again.
I know, me too.
He was,
Um,
I mean, he was hitting lefties like crazy this year. He was hitting the ball all over the place. Like
I know.
I feel really good about the postseason he's about to have. I think
He's
ha
focused and he's
yeah,
not trying to he's using all the field. He's not just trying to pull for home runs.
yeah, and he was really like home runner bust in the regular season, but like really home runner bust in the playoffs, which he had some huge home runs for us, which were awesome. But I think when him, coming up in some more critical spots this year,
Hmm.
being able to go the opposite way off of a lefty, or I mean, you really can't even use like bring a lefty in against him because he's hitting so good against him. So I think he might be, the sneaky player to watch the most in the playoffs, as
He
well.
is
Which would,
the driving force of this team.
hmm
Everyone loves to say it's Harper. It is by far Schwarber. And I will rest my hat
I
on
like
that.
that.
Yeah. Like this team goes as Schwarber goes. And
Hmm.
I know people say this team goes as Harper goes, which is fair, because that's normally what happens. But Schwarber's the main leader in that clubhouse, and if Schwarber's going, he's pushing everyone else to go with him.
Hmm.
Um, it's like that. Have you seen that clip of Otani making Austin Barnes steal third base?
Mm-mm.
So there's a clip. I don't know who they were playing. It might have been in Colorado. Um, I'm not. I don't quote me on it, but I saw the clip. Shohei's on first. Austin Barnes is on second. Austin Barnes had 2 stolen bases the whole year, and Otani's trying to get 60. So Otani's like pointing at him, literally telling him, "Go, you're going to third, because I'm going to second." And they double steal, and Otani pretty much like forced him, and that's kind of what it made me think of, is like because Otani got like his 56th or something like that stolen base of the year, and Austin Barnes got his third. Um, he actually stole third. He wasn't thrown out, which was the impressive part. Um, but that's kind of what it made me feel like. It's kind of like Schwarber saying, "I'm going, and you're coming with me." Is how Schwarber goes, and now that's how Bryce goes too. But Schwarber is like the de facto leader in that clubhouse. Like him having a good year has been paramount to us having a good year. If Schwarber would have hit sub 200 again in the leadoff spot, I can guarantee you, even if he had the same amount of home runs and RBIs and stuff like that, I can guarantee you that um, we would have a worse record just because um, his leadership, his um, like people aren't. What's the way to put it? Yeah, they're they're scared to pitch to him, and as they should be, but now they're even more scared to pitch to him because he's not going to try and do too much. He's going to take what you give him, and if you don't give him a ball to drive, he'll be patient
Hmm.
and get to that pitch, or he'll just lace it into left field for a single. And you can shift him, everyone's going to still shift him, but he's going to not care about hitting into that shift anymore. Like before, I think it was a like, all right, they're shifting me. The only way I can hit to the right side of the field is if I hit it into the stands. And
Hmm.
now it's kind of like he's found that way to be able to hit it between the outfield and the infield and right field and be able to get a hit. And that's given him a lot of confidence. And he's kind of like, all right, I'm going to get on base and we're going to just go. And I set the table and I dictate the tone of this game. I'm either going to blast it into the stands for a leadoff home run, or I'm going to fight you and get on base and make you throw a lot of pitches, and then Trey's gonna come up and do something. I don't know what Trey's gonna do, but Trey will come up and do something, and we'll just we have to attack quickly. And Schwarber's been a good, proponent of that.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
That was a lot of talk. Sorry.
No, I was following you. It makes sense.
Yeah,
Our starting pitcher. I think it's kind of another easy one.
this is an
Not
easy one.
much debate on this one.
Yeah,
Taijuan Walker.
Yeah, you can't not go with Taijuan Walker. You see, Taijuan here, this is like he had the biggest ERA, and that's what you want, right? The higher number. It's not golf. You don't want the lower number. You want the higher number. No, I'm just kidding. It's
Do you think he ever plays for the Phillies again? You think they bring him back next year? I hope they don't, but yeah,
Holy
I mean,
smokes.
I do hope he can kind of figure it out though too. But Tatis.
Holy crap. Luis Ariz, it just hit a single, and then I think it was the very first pitch of Tatis's at bat. He just he tatted that ball, and then he danced all over it. Like, holy smokes. I hope I never see him in a Phillies uniform again.
Yeah.
Walker, that is.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope.
We go off topic though.
Yeah.
Let's,
But
who's
starting
your
pitcher,
winner?
definitely Wheeler. No doubt about it. Should be Cy Young, but yeah. Anyway, yeah. There's not much to say because he's just so good. Like, you could talk about stuff, but that's just the norm for him anymore, and it just feels like there's there should be stuff to talk about with how good Wheeler is, but it's just what you come to expect anymore. That anything less, that's when you start talking about it. You know what I mean? And so that should be praised. The praise for Wheeler all in itself is just there should be stuff to talk about, but the stuff we talk about is just the norm for him anymore, which just tells you all you need to know about the bar that he set for himself.
Yeah, he really is a true bona fide ace, best pitcher in baseball. Like it's so great to have someone like that. And yeah, it's just we were talking about it before we started recording, just how it's like stinks that he got kind of gets snubbed again of a Cy Young. I think this is his second place finish. If he finishes second place again in the last 5 years, which
there's no way he doesn't finish second place.
Yeah. So,
unfortunately,
stinks, but I mean, he's truly one of the best, and he's going to be huge in our success in the postseason. So,
yeah.
Reliever. Who's your most valuable reliever this year? Best reliever on the team.
So I went back and forth in my head a few times between Jeff Hoffman and Matt Strahm, but at the end of the day, I had to go with Matt Strahm. If my Google will function for me so I can tell you why I went with Matt Strahm instead, because I need to get to their stats. Strahm just seemed like he had a better season start to close than Hoffman did. If my memory serves me right, Hoffman struggled a little at the beginning of the season. Unless I had it backwards. But
no, you're right. Strahm was incredible in the beginning.
Yeah. So that's why I went with Strahm. He had a better start to close than Hoffman did. It was really close. I really could have gone with either of them, but Strom. Maybe I do have it backwards. Either way, Strom. In my mind, Strom just had a better season. He had a sub 2 ERA in 66 games.
Mm-hmm.
His WHIP was 0.75, which is also ridiculous. He came in situations where we needed this mess taken. Essentially, he's like, here's a mess, clean it up, and which is what it was. It's like, here's a mess, we need you to clean it up, and he did. He didn't give up a single earned run. He gave up an earned run. He gave up 2 earned runs in his first appearance, where he pitched a third of an inning. Didn't even pitch a whole inning. Gave up 2 earned runs in a third of an inning. His very first appearance. He didn't give up another run, and that was on March 29th. All right. He gave up 2 earned runs. He didn't give up another run until June 14th.
That's incredible.
He went 2.5 months without giving up a run. And I think he's only given up 4. He's only given up 4 home runs this year, I think. But yeah, he gave up a run. He gave up 2 earned runs in his first appearance. And then he went, I didn't count, but that's like gotta be close to 20 straight appearances without giving up a run. But yeah, Strom's been solid. Like, I can give you his monthly ERAs. We're gonna ignore March because he had a 13.5 ERA in March. That was in large part because of his first outing was hot garbage. April ERA 0, May ERA 0, June ERA 3, July 6, August 0.84, September 0.82. He struggled when the Phillies struggled, which was those 2 middle months. But they were getting to the dog days of summer at that point where it's just kind of they're grinding. And I think everyone kind of lost a little bit of focus at that point. But I don't want to disregard Jeff Hoffman because he had a really good year. He came on 68 games and 2.17 ERA. But yeah, were you gonna talk about Jeff Hoffman at all? Or were you in agreement with Strom?
No, I was definitely in agreement with Strom. I mean, Hoffman also a great year. But yeah, Strom was just like lights out this year, and he was. I mean, I trust Hoffman when he comes in, but like with Strom, it was just like, okay, yeah, like this is automatic. So, yeah, both are obviously extremely important pieces of the team, and yeah, it could really be a toss up, but I would definitely agree with Strom.
So just a small piece of information. I was just really looking at their stats a little deeper. Hoffman's ERA. Hoffman came in and pitched against the Nationals on the 28th, which was Saturday. He came in the pitch on Saturday. He gave up 4 earned runs. He gave up 4 earned runs, and his ERA coming into that appearance was 1.65. So his ERA really jumped. So I mean, I don't want to say I'm going to backtrack and give it to Hoffman, but they're both equally deserving, and I just think Strom's really been that guy where Hoffman's been that trustworthy late inning guy, but Strom's been that guy where, like, hey, look, we've gotten ourselves into a mess, clean it up. And I've
Mhm.
appreciated that because it takes a special person to come in and not give up runs
Yeah.
when you're kind of back up against the wall. But
Mhm.
do you have anything else you want to say on that? We can keep moving.
No. Yeah.
Cool.
No. All good. Um.
So
Yeah. Most improved is our next category.
yeah.
Um.
So
s-
you can I listed a catcher and a position player for this is how I did mine. I don't know how you did yours.
A catcher and a position player, or a pitcher and
A
position player.
position player and a pitcher.
Okay.
Sorry, did
Yeah.
I
I
say
mean,
catcher? Yeah.
no. No. I mean, I think most improved. I would have loved to have given it to like a Marsh or like a Rojas or um somebody like that, but I think we both kind of had the same, which was uh, position player was Sosa and then Kirkering for reliever. I think Kirkering really cemented himself as a trustworthy bullpen arm this year, which is awesome. Could always use more of those, and I think he's going to be used in high leverage situations in the playoffs. And then Sosa came in, through our best, stretch of the season. Turner goes down, everyone's kind of down and worried that the motor's going to get lost, and he just kind of picked up right where he left off. And
Hmm.
I think he's one of the best bench bat platoon guys in all of baseball. So,
He would genuinely be starting on just about any other team. I really I don't want to say any other team because like you look at a team like the Mets, he probably wouldn't be starting on the Mets just because of Lindor and Jeff McNeil. Um, but is McNeil hurt? I haven't heard much about him. Anyway, no tangents. But um, yeah, no, they both been good. Um, part of me wanted to give this to Sanchez too for the pitching,
mm,
but um, Kerkering really like this is what we expected from Kerkering, and he really took a step up and kind of we kind of said here's a position that we'd like you to take, and he took it full storm, and he never looked back,
mhm,
and he became the guy that we were hoping he would become,
mhm,
and I think Sanchez easily could have got this too, but I think just the role that Kerkering played, like our bullpen looks better than it has in years. And that's in large part to Kerkering being honestly one of the best we have in our bullpen. And he's the fourth guy that pitch like he's the fourth guy. Like you're gonna go to Kerkering in like the sixth inning when in reality he could probably be like a 8 or 9 inning reliever, but he's coming in the sixth because you're gonna have Strom, Hoffman, and Esteves come in ahead of him to pitch
mhm.
later, which is just remarkable. So yeah, um, you got anything else there?
No, that's all from me.
Cool. And then biggest surprise would be the next category.
Mhm,
Um, and it's essentially the same two guys. Easily could, like I said previously, could put Sanchez in instead of Kerkering,
mhm.
but um,
Yeah, and I would have loved to also have Ranger in that conversation with how he pitched kind of the first half of the
yeah,
year, and
mm-hmm,
then the way he fell off just was disappointing.
yeah,
But yeah, I think what you have is spot on.
yeah. And then team MVP's got to be Wheeler.
Yeah.
Um, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like if Bohm, if Turner hadn't got hurt and kept doing what he was doing, and if Bohm hadn't got hurt and came out of the All Star break just as hot as he was going into the All Star break, easily you could be talking about one of them for team MVP. But Wheeler just he carried like it was if it was Wheeler day, you had to win because he's gonna go out and give you 7 innings of
Mhm.
2 runs at the most.
Hmm.
and you have to take advantage of that. And so when you have a pitcher like that, there's no way he's not your team MVP every single year.
Yeah. Yeah. Having a lockdown ace like that you think you're going to win every time he's on the mound is probably one of the most important things in baseball, in my opinion, if not the most. So him being that guy is just huge for the Phillies.
Yeah. Um. So I think on that note, we're gonna wrap it up here. It's good to be back.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad we're doing this again. So we'll keep this going through the postseason at the least. Like if you don't hear from us after the postseason, um, it's because we're taking a quick break. But no, I'm hoping that once the postseason's done, we can uh be on here talking about we'll stick this out through it postseason, and hopefully we have a final episode where we're talking about a World Series championship. So, um, yeah, it's good to hear from you, Brandon. It's good to be here. So,
Yeah. Let's go
yeah,
Phils, baby.
let's go Red
Let's get this
October.
thing.
Yeah,
Let's win it.
go Phillies.